100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDK. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi, Schultz Ford, SchultzFord.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star, and our star today, and boy, is she a star, Joanna Doven. Welcome to Cars, Stars, and everything in between. And this is going to be an easy conversation because all three of us know each other very well. So this will be easy and comfortable.
Definitely. I think next time, if I'm invited back, I'm coming into studio. We could all hang out and do coffee.
I agree.
While we talk.
That's a great idea. But, what's really hard about that is your schedule it's actually unbelievable what you do in a day with kids. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids. In fact, so my youngest daughter had a play at school today. She's 7. And so I'm coming from that. And, it's like, I have 3 kids. They're all at a school where there's a lot of parent communication. I probably have 20 emails a week from the school. It's just so hard to keep up. So sometimes it's like, I just like day by day.
And I think those of us that are parents understand that. But what really is intriguing is everything that you're accomplishing outside of being a great parent. And actually, I'd like to just kind of open it up because it's almost like a Pandora's box to me when you use the term AI or artificial intelligence. I'm not sure I even understand the full capabilities or even what it is. And then to understand what it is and what you see and how you're trying to bridge the gap between what it is and what it can be. And so I'd like to just let you talk and, what is this? What is this AI initiative that you do?
So I'm leading something called the AI Strike Team. What it is an effort to organize the players in this community. So tech leaders, government, universities, around a strategy that ensures Pittsburgh leads what I'm calling the new AI economy. True north being job creation, which sounds funny because people think of AI and they think, well, AI is going to replace jobs. Right. Well, I'm here to tell the audience this. AI will replace your job if you don't learn to use it.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So I use AI every day.
Wait, say that again.
AI will replace your job if you refuse to adapt and use it. So imagine, computers, really came online in like 2000, right? Internet really came online around that era. Imagine an executive assistant today, right? Saying, I'm going to write everything down. I'm going to have the planner. Your calendar's on paper. Would they still be employed? The answer is no.
No.
You have to adapt. So the unique part about Pittsburgh is that we're actually arguably the birthplace of artificial intelligence. So some of the work that was happening at Carnegie Mellon early on in the 1950s, and then leading into the robotics movement, actually 1984, the first self-driving, it wasn't a car, it was like a small car, right?
The first Mars rover was developed here in Pittsburgh.
Right. And so, and Baba, I mean, the roots are interesting because I say AI is the new steel, because we are leading this moment because of our steel heritage. Carnegie Mellon came to be because of the math and science and metallurgy needed in the steel industry. So Carnegie Mellon had that foundation of math and science, which ultimately created artificial intelligence. So here's the bottom line. Carnegie Mellon University is the world's #1 AI school and #1 cybersecurity school. And that's 2 years in a row by US News and World Reports. The University of Pittsburgh has one of the largest sets of healthcare data. So what does AI need? It needs data. It needs smart brains. And then I will talk about compute, which is data centers, in a second here. It needs the infrastructure, the power, the energy. So we've got all of these things here to lead in this new epic. But AI is scary because most people don't understand it. even the people that are in places of leadership positions. So we need a a team, which is the AI strike team, to quickly organize, educate people, and push for investments and policies that will allow us to participate in what I'm calling, it's a hockey stick moment. I mean, if you look across the nation right now, for the first time since the 70s, heartland states, so states in the middle of the US, surpassed coastal states in GDP growth, so essentially in job growth. And a large reason is we not only have AI, but we have a post-COVID world where people are rethinking what life looks like, where they live. And you've got massive, massive investments in AI infrastructure, billions of investments in data centers. I mean, the largest ever investment round was raised by Blackstone about 6 months ago. It's like $300 billion fund just for data centers. That money and that investment is going somewhere, right? And so
Right.
we, the strike team wants to make sure that we're not tiptoeing around like our, our region, our state, instead of like tiptoeing around who we are, and like, no, own it, own the AI moment. So and then the other thing is we've got this thing called AI Avenue, that stretches from Duolingo's world headquarters, which is in Pittsburgh on Penn Avenue, down to Bakery Square. It's a 1 mile AI Avenue, and there's over 25 emerging AI companies. So they are about 2-3 years old.
Hang
And
on a
they're,
second. I need to
yep,
pause you right there. So you're
yeah,
saying right here in Pittsburgh, between where Duolingo is and Bakery Square, there's a 1 mile stretch that some of the most like innovative and emerging AI companies in the world are calling Pittsburgh home.
yeah, it's incredible.
That's what's so intriguing to
I had
me.
no idea.
And I didn't
Yeah.
either until I read the article, and I started to look at it, and I said, "This is why I love having Joanna, because, I mean, when I listen to you talk, I mean, there's not a lot I can respond with." Do you know Brian Selesky?
I do. Yes.
So Brian was a big part of the autonomous driving
Yes.
movement.
Stack. I think he ran Stack
No,
AV. Yeah.
oh, it might have been, but I think there was one before. He was partners with Ford Motor Company on
Oh
level.
yeah.
I think it was level 4.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Vehicles. And he was a graduate of
Argo, I
CMU.
think. Yep.
Argo AI.
Argo.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, he's such an unassuming young man. And but when you talk to him, like talking to you, it's just your mouth drops open, and you just comfortable sitting and listening, because you have
Yeah.
a very different view of this world than so many of us do. Because you're right, people don't get it yet. We don't understand it. We need a way to understand it, myself included.
Yeah.
And I think that what you're doing is that, so that's a startup.
So we're technically a 501c6, which is sort of like a nonprofit. We're a public-private partnership. Um, we're we're trying to catalyze partnerships that communicate clearly what's happening here, first to ourselves so that we can all get buy-in, and then, sorry, there's a car beeping here, and then secondarily to the outside world. So we're going to have a big AI Horizon Summit September 11th and 12th. And so we've got about 3-4 months where we're going to be doing a lot of outward communications, a lot of organizing. And we see that as an action forcing event to really tell the world what's happening in Pittsburgh. We did that last year, but it was sort of it was inaugural, right? And we sold out the event. It was great. But it was, I kind of describe it as a religious revival. If you came last year, I'm definitely going to invite you this year, because people were like, waking up to what is happening, because the AI stuff, right? Before ChatGPT did a public announcement in November of 2023, unless you were working in AI, it was happening in research corners and
And you had
in
no
walls
idea.
of universities. You had no idea. And then boom, ChatGPT comes online, and then everyone's like, what's going on here? And the character of these, what I would call technologist founders, isn't, I mean, they're doing very smart things, and they're not naturally communicators.
Wow.
And,
Joanna,
yeah,
hang on here, because when we come back, we're going to pick up the conversation with Joanna Doven about AI. This is Car Stars and Everything in Between on 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA.
We're still
thanks.
recording, by the way.
Okay. My daughter is going to get in the car now. I took my teen. Come on, Hannah, get in the car. Hannah. What is she doing? Hannah.
He's refusing to get in an Audi.
Yeah. I almost called you. I needed a car. I had to go to Harrisburg. And like I had to go back and forth really quick. And I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to do it in my electric vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
But I ended up hitching a ride with somebody, and I was like, oh man, that's the one thing about getting an EV, is I didn't have time to sit and charge. Say hi to
Hi,
Hannah.
everybody. Hi, Hannah. Hi, I'm
Hello.
Bubba. Richard.
Hannah, it's Richard.
Right, here we go.
Hello.
This will be our second 9-minute break. Here we go. 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA. This is Car Stars and Everything in Between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi, Schultz Ford, SchultzFord.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star, and on with us is Joanna Doven, talking about everything AI, and you got a summit coming up in September. I do have a question to get back into this. One of the things, because I'm like you, I use AI every day. Every single day I use it in some form or capacity. But I think the one thing that may scare people, because you use a term that people are scared by, because I think people are scared of what they don't know, is I think it is kind of overwhelming the fact that I heard that AI is growing its capacity by 50 to 100% every single day based on its technology.
Okay, you really brought up something that's so interesting, and I'm going to kind of go down to what I would call an 8th grade level.
Okay,
really
good. That's where I live. That's where I live.
Kindergarten level for
that's also where I live.
People. And I'll be honest, I as somebody who's doing this every day and reading and listening and meeting with people, and I learn new things every day too with this. But here's the bottom line. The reason why AI exists is because of the advancements in the silicon chip, which is NVIDIA. Okay. So those chip advancements allowed for faster communication of the neural networks. So imagine AI like in a data center. There's racks, okay, and there's a bunch of chips, and then they're all connecting and talking to each other. So it's like trillions of mini brains. And in just one rack in a data center, there's 600 components. It's the size of a refrigerator. So to the advancements, and it's not just the silicon, the chip, but it's in the all kinds of things like electrical components and switchgear. So advancements increased such that you could start to train these large language models known as LLMs. So now you would dump a bunch of data. So ChatGPT literally crawled all kinds of internet data, books, all kinds of books, and started training the brains, which is in data centers. Now, there's something called Moore's Law, which is innovation. It means innovation begets innovation. So when you start to innovate, and you do that by putting something out there. So ChatGPT launched, and there are people in the industry that didn't want it to launch because it wasn't perfect. And there was and I actually was at NVIDIA's tech conference and spoke with the leader at OpenAI that told me this story, actually sitting at a bar. That's where you get the best information sometimes.
Yes.
He said, we were really pushing for it to get out there because we knew that if we launched it, then there would be a race to keep innovating, and that we knew how powerful this technology could be in improving humankind. And he said to me, and this guy has worked in AI since, he's probably my age, so 25 years or so. He said, our children, by the time they're 18, will not know the word cancer, because what AI can do is make sense of so much data and find patterns that the human brain could never find ever. Another story is Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA. He said, there was a medical doctor that thanked him for his work on the silicone chip. And he said, because of what you have done with silicone, I can now do my life's work in my lifetime. So scientists and doctors can, I mean, they're transcribing the human genome in like real time, and they're predicting the precision medicine is going to go completely through the roof. So all that to be said, to your point, there's something called AI training, which has been happening. And now that the models have been trained in many different products and applications, now it's called AI inference, or what I call AI deployment. Now AI is being commercialized, right? Now people are signing on to use it, not just, people for consumer reasons, but logistic companies and healthcare companies. And so the minute it gets deployed, now the human brains of AI have to talk to each other in real time and output in real time. Like, people don't have patience to wait, so it has to be real time. And because of that, this is a hockey stick moment where we're going from training AI and playing with it to now deploying it. And they say it's 100 times more GPUs are needed. So you need more chips, you need more infrastructure, you need more power, you need more components. It needs more. And what does that mean? That means there are going to be places in metros that open the door for those investments, right? We have a lot of natural gas here, right? How many jobs can we create, in the data center industry and the downstream data center industry in Western Pennsylvania? So it's just, I mean, we're living in a moment right now, and this is what gives me chills. Like, I saw this about 2 years ago when I was working with Walnut Capital. And I saw people leasing space, and they were AI companies. And I was like, what is this? And then I am a graduate of Carnegie Mellon, so I know a little bit about AI. I studied it a bit. But once I started diving in, Bubba and Richard, I just knew almost intuitively that the world was going to change really fast, and we needed to figure out where Pittsburgh played. So I started an AI working group about 2 years ago. This work began 2 years ago.
Wow.
And so I've been doing this for 2 years. And so now we're at the level where I'm working with state government right now, with federal government, on strategic investments and policies that leverage this moment. The most unique thing right now is that government, institutions, and longstanding economic groups are historically not set up to move quickly. And that is where cities and metros and states need to reorganize, because you need a layer of quickness on top of the existing, ecosystem. And I'll say a couple of things. People are like, well, why do you care, right? Well, we all love Pittsburgh. We all have children here. We know that Pittsburgh is great, but we know that it could be better, right? We know there could be more vibrancy, there could be more jobs, there could be more, and there needs to be more. So just looking at things like tax generation, right? A healthy city and state generates jobs and taxes. In Ohio alone last year, the data center industry brought in about $1 billion in paid state and local taxes. That money gets reinvested, right? The state can then use it to attract more jobs. We need more engines of tax generation here to help feed the flywheel effect of jobs. And so I'm basically out there proselytizing and communicating the urgency. And I really appreciate people like Richard that are like, what, she's doing something really cool, and we need to get the word out, because
Yeah.
So, Joanna, I'm going to ask you this. First of all, you talk about cities. So what you do, think about what you do. I think you'll remember that I really want to support you. I want you to be the mayor of the city at some point. I think you're the best candidate for that. You're not at that step yet, because there's one step yet between the current mayor race. But so think about if you were the mayor, because we talk about creating jobs, and that's great. And I think your goal was to bring 100 jobs. But how would you, if you were the mayor, what's the practical use of AI for you and for me as a business person in the city, an automobile dealer, Ford franchise dealer? I understand what you're saying. How do I use it? How should I use it? How could I use it? In the same back to administration level, how would you want to use it as the mayor?
So step one, you know, we of course have a election coming up, and I do believe that whoever our mayor is going to be, that he should lean heavily into Pittsburgh being an AI city. What does that mean? Well, NVIDIA did name Pittsburgh their first AI tech community, but I have not seen how our current mayor has talked about it. He hasn't leveraged it. He hasn't done anything to nurture that announcement or relationship. And I will tell you, talking to NVIDIA after they made that announcement at the summit here in Bakery Square, they were getting calls from mayors of other cities saying, what can we do to be the second city? What can we pay you? What can like, and so we have to, leverage the natural things we have now.
Yeah.
That's a big thing to leverage. So first of all, if I was mayor, I would be really meeting with these, AI and tech executives, and ensuring that the ones who are here already, like let's take Skilled AI. They just got another $300 million investment. We know that it's been historically proven that when robotics companies got investment from Silicon Valley, they moved, or they just kept a shell office here and they moved. We need to be doing everything we can to ensure that these tech founders stay en route here in Pittsburgh. And then we need an outbound marketing strategy that attracts more tech and AI companies into our corridors, into AI Avenue, into Hazelwood Green, and beyond.
Joanna, but how do we use it? What, like, for example, for me, do I say, I log into chat and I have a very dangerous level of knowledge. I log into Chat GPT and I say, write me a marketing plan.
Yeah.
Is that the practical application?
Yeah. So let me give you a real world example. So right now, Governor Shapiro has deployed Copilot, which is Microsoft's program.
Right.
And Commonwealth employees are using it. And so how are they using it? So in customer service, if there's a request that comes in an email, they can quickly direct that request to the right people, and they can use AI as a co-pilot essentially to respond faster and more robustly. And he just had an announcement, the governor did, and it's improved like government response times by 30%. Now that's sort of like the easy stuff, I would say, the lower hanging fruit. The higher hanging fruit, which I would say, like if the mayor was going to become an AI mayor, and if Pittsburgh was going to become an AI city, we have homegrown AI companies that are doing really cool things that can be deployed in their own backyard. An example is a company called Lovelace AI, and they use predictive analytics to understand if there's anomalies in movement patterns during crises. So if there was a crisis here, they're using satellite imagery and all kinds of data, ton of data, and they can tell first responders how to deploy and where to deploy, and give them situational awareness that they would otherwise not have. So Lovelace is working with the federal government. They're working with the Department of Defense. They could also be working with the state police, with the Pittsburgh Police, and then that's how you can also help the homegrown companies by allowing them to showcase what their products can do to keep a city and its residents safer. There's about 3 different companies here that could deploy things in city government. So you have to start having those conversations. Budgeting, I would be very interested in. So in Denver, they deployed AI for quicker permitting. So, and you know how frustrating it is to get permits in government, right? Especially in the city. There's like, why can't AI do that? Why? Right? Because AI is important. what works with AI is if you have clear inputs. So if you're applying for a permit, right, and you already have to fill out the information, why can't it be turned around quicker with AI, right? Why can't we say 60 days tops? I mean, it really should be 30. So there's, I would say you look at where there's problems in government, permitting,
Or in
speed,
any
open for
industry,
business
right?
stuff. Yeah, open for business type stuff. And you would deploy AI like based on those buckets where people would want it to be deployed. Speed of business stuff, and then public safety and crisis response.
It's
That's where I would
unbelievable.
start.
Joanna, you have young children. And so
Yes.
one of my
One
questions
back
would
here.
be, yes. And I don't want to name her, maintain her privacy. However, are these children being prepared for the AI world in their curriculums?
No, they're not. We're not doing enough. And my children go to private school, and to the credit of Shayset Academy's president, we actually have been working together. And I organized an event where I brought some AI leaders in to speak with teachers, and we have to educate teachers about the why. And I think I saw it's I believe it was Saudi Arabia just announced that starting at age 4, they're going to be training kids in AI starting at age
I love
4.
that. I love that.
And President Trump had an executive order about 2 weeks ago around really mandating AI education in K through 12. And we also have the Grable Foundation here, which is does a lot of investment in pre-K through 12. And they are working very hard to educate superintendents on the adoption of AI. But just like anything in schools, it's usually district by district.
Mhm.
But it's as simple as this. Like I said in the beginning, AI will come for your job if you refuse to use it.
Wow.
So
Love that line.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Wow.
And honestly, this could go on forever. This conversation could go on forever. Certainly respect your input, your opinion, and your knowledge, which far exceeds mine. And honestly, if it were me starting my life all over, I think I would get so absorbed in AI. I would go to sleep with it. I'd wake up with it. I'd really try to embrace this whole technology, and because I believe in it, and I think it's going to be fabulous. Thank you for giving us your insights, Baba. This has just been
This is great. Joanna, thank you so much for being on Car Stars and everything in between.
Thank you for having